is Jay, I'm one of the team members here at Breakthrough, and it is my honour to welcome you, as we do every Friday morning, to Breakthrough Academy, alongside Josh Joby, my very good friend.
Good to be here.
And our senior pastor, Pastor Peter Lewis.
Yeah, I'm just trying. Oh, it's a Mad Mex hat.
Yes, a Mad Max hat I got on this morning.
Just quickly, is today the first day of spring or the last day of winter?
No, neither.
It's like Sunday.
Monday.
Why did I think it was today?
For last week.
I was going to say...
you know how the 29th is the last day of most months, you know?
Yeah.
29th of August.
May have been that, you know, did a little ruffling. I was like, this will be the last time we're talking complaining about the cold.
Well, it's the last Friday we're allowed to complain about the cold, technically. We are hitting spring.
It's cold in spring, just tough.
Me and Dad last night, we went to the footy to go to the Legends game, at a Vic V All-Stars game. And I wore shorts to the footy last night.
Yeah.
Now, I regretted it for the second half, and I was freezing.
I mentioned it, Jay. I said, Jay, you're wearing shorts. And it's like, because it was a bit sunny, it was a bit nice. But I'm like...
It can be a bit deceiving.
Jay, you're going to be out there for hours.
And the wind was a chill.
To be fair, the wind was a bit cold, but we were inside Marvel, so the roof was closed. I knew it was an indoor stadium.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been.
And when you're on the train ride home, I deeply enjoyed having a cooler outfit on rather than being... because we're stacked into the train. But it was fun.
Fair enough.
But winter is, as you can... Today for that, I've got a summer hat on, and then I've got winter over.
Can I just say, I often wonder about people watching this in 6 months' time, like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
It's cold.
It's cold.
Like to them, it's like, you know, sun's out and everything. You know, it's like, all right, so enough for our weather. We've been doing the Book of Acts, and my job is to train these two guys. All right, that's why you are getting the beneficiaries of the benefit. You're getting the benefit of my mission, my charge to train these two guys to take their ministry, calling, and gifting, and be able to use it in its fullness, not to be held back by a lack of Bible knowledge, because they've both got prophetic gifts. They could flow in the prophetic, but they'll only be able to really flow to the level of how much they understand the Word of God. Now, they'll be able to prophesy and they'll be able to flow in that, but their depth of understanding here will give them a foundation that God can give them prophetic words and insights and nuances with their prophetic ministry. And that doesn't come easy, but they're not natural Bible teachers in the sense of like, okay, this is my love, my first passion. Their first passion is to make the Bible relevant to their generation, to the people around them. They read the Bible, they see what God is doing, and it becomes an automatic, how can I minister this to people? So I take my skill, my gifting, and I work it through them. But I'm teaching them some skills to understand the Word of God, not just teaching them, this is what the Bible says. I'm teaching them how to discern the Bible, how to train it, but not in the sense of, okay, this is teacher training teachers. You know, I asked my mum once why they learnt Latin in school, because, you know, years gone by, one of the classes you did was to teach, you know, to learn Latin. And I said, what did you gain that would make you employable by learning Latin? And she goes, well, you could become a Latin teacher.
For all those that want to learn Latin.
Yes.
In this time.
And then...
do they not realise there's
a cycle?
Yeah, there's... so you were learning Latin so you could...
Doesn't matter that it's a dead language.
Yeah. So I thought, well, you don't want to learn the Bible so you could be a Bible teacher.
No, that's it.
We don't want to make this that little little circle that just goes around, and we're just learning so we can teach.
And then this
and we're teaching so people can learn and then teach. No, this is so that we can be empowered to live it out, to do it. So my aim is to empower you so you can come to the Word of God, handle it appropriately, get what God is saying to you, with a level of foundation and depth that enables you to then move higher levels in your ministry. And you can be wrestling with the truths that are not just sitting on the surface. You can be reading the books of the Bible and not just grabbing a verse that seems to apply to you, but you are doing like we've been doing and digging and saying, well, why was Thessalonians written? Now I understand it. Now I can gain what they're doing. And I'm like, for instance, it helps to shape things, not just by verses, but by whole concepts. You know, it's like, and I was thinking the other day, someone was talking about something, and I'm like, would Paul have seen it like that? I'm like, I don't think Paul would have seen it like that. You know, I'm not thinking of individual verses. I'm just thinking, no, Paul would have been like, what are you talking about, guys? Let's do this. And so some of the things that how can I say that? Some of the things that I probably didn't prioritize, I realized Paul gives more time to. And I like to dig more into that, and I'm sort of on the edge, and that's why sometimes I haven't even taught on it, because I'm still processing and gaining that. One of the examples would be Paul spoke a lot about the end times in his letter to the Thessalonians. You know, who's the who's the man that's coming, that's bringing wickedness and the end times and what's going to happen, and there was a lot of discussion, and I'm like, well, we don't talk about here. And when I'm like, oh, hang on a sec, is this wrong that we're like, oh, Paul was obviously talking about stuff that we weren't, so he was irrelevant. Wait a second. If Paul felt this was very relevant, and I suddenly realized a church that was under intense pressure, especially being persecuted, the end time teaching was important because it put a framework about what they were here, what they were looking forward to, and what was happening, where they were going. For a comfortable church, sometimes we don't need to talk about it as much.
We don't need to worry about that,
Yeah, we're quite comfortable here. You know, when Jesus, that would be great to come, but can you come in a couple of weeks? Because I've got a couple of concerts booked, and I've got a holiday that's coming up, and
just until after the next major Marvel movie.
Some really good movies coming out in December, Lord. So maybe could you come out in January? Come back and but seriously, it's like, wow. I suddenly was aware that to me it wasn't a priority. Maybe that's because my view is different to Paul's, because for him it was critical. This is really important. This is kingdom stuff, because he's in the front lines. He's working against the enemy, and and it's pushed back, and he's having to hold on. He's having to know what God's doing and where do we stand. And to me, I thought, well, that's a warning sign to me that I'm not looking at like Paul. So rather than say, well, that's irrelevant, I'm like, well, I've got to make it where it's become more relevant, and I have the same priority. So these studies we're doing are helping give that bigger picture, and helping you to tackle some of these questions, become close to what Paul was thinking, which helps us see what Jesus was thinking. And then, so we've been using the Book of Acts as our skeleton, as our backbone. All the things come off that. It just helps so much, and we've been working our way through. And we got to Acts chapter 28, which, if you understand the Book of Acts, that is the last chapter. Paul's ministry didn't finish. New Testament church certainly didn't finish. But Acts was the final recording of where we got up to. Now, what we did a number of weeks ago, and you can go and find these in our YouTube channel, or you can go onto our website and go to watch, and in there you can see Academy, and then you can pick all the series and you go through one at a time. They're all there. You can go back to the time when we actually went through the margins of our Book of Acts, and we wrote in the dates and what was happening. And I refer to that so much myself. I marked it in a blue pencil for me, and I now just go back to the Book of Acts when I'm reading something, find out where was this happening, look in the margin, when was it written, and I get to the end of the Book of Acts, which is sort of around AD 62 for my writing here, and I've got a whole lot of Peter writes 1 Peter, Paul writes Ephesians, Colossians, Philippians, Philemon. Luke writes Luke and Acts, because getting to the end, and it's like there's a whole lot of stuff there. They're busy writers, but there's not much happening in terms of these churches in that we're not in that part of the world. We're not in Asia Minor. We're not in Macedonia. We're not in Greece. We're now over in Rome, and Paul's under house arrest. So everything's sort of gone. Everything's slowed up in terms of the actual mission work in what it used to be compared with what it used to be. But there's a whole lot of stuff being written. And then afterwards, I've got here from AD 64 to 67, it's they write, 2 Peter is written, Jude writes, Paul writes 2 Timothy, and then it says Paul and Peter martyred in Rome. All right, so we're not, we're talking a couple of years later, 2 to 4 years later, 2 to 5 years later, after this is written, Paul is martyred. But we do know from letters that were written afterwards, like you said, he's writing 2 Timothy. So we find out some information about what's happened in between. And so we get a little bit of a picture of where he is and what he's doing. He doesn't stay in Rome. This is not his demise. He's in house arrest. It's fairly friendly, and he's in prison. He's in prison, but not in a dungeon.
Yeah.
Sort of. He's under house arrest, probably still shackled, maybe with a handcuff, but he's still able to entertain people coming to see him and things like that. Minister to people. But then he's released. He goes back into Asia Minor. You have things like he visits Crete with Titus. So AD 62, 64 I've got written here. Paul is released. He writes 1 Timothy and Titus are in his release. He goes with Titus, visits Crete, and then he writes to Titus, I told you, well, when I left, stay there, set this up, appoint leaders, and we talked about that a few weeks ago. So he's doing all this, it's all happening. So he's not, Rome isn't the end.
Yeah. But
he said, I want to go to Spain, but most likely he does come back into Asia Minor because he wants to, there's a lot of stuff happening with the churches, wants to come back, wants to visit with them, wants to minister to them. I don't know whether he went to Spain and then back, or just came back intending to go to Spain, but then he ends up in Rome, much more serious, and he's martyred. So we have this sort of in between, but he's in prison. He's in prison in different parts of the world. So when he talks about things like, when I was in prison, people are like, which prison time are you talking about?
You've been in a lot of prisons, Paul.
Yeah, so it's like, was he in prison in Ephesus? Was he in prison in Rome the first time? Was he in prison the second time? These are questions that scholars bounce around, and it's like, it just doesn't make sense here. The same as when we're looking at Galatians, trying to match all the pieces together. People try and then match the letters together. All right, so we're doing that as the background. By having these dates and these times, it just gives you a sense of what is happening. And that really does help you when you come to the letters to try and make a little bit of sense of them, what he was attacking, what he was dealing with, what was happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And we're like we had with Corinthians, a letter to a whole lot of issues that were happening. The letter to the Ephesians that was one of the most exciting letters when I realized Ephesians was his, not to a church that was going through an issue, but it was just, this is my message to the people, and I'm just sharing it.
Yeah. ...
The letter, do you remember we said, if you actually look at this, and go back and watch this, because it was actually one of my favourites of all the ones that they're pretty much all my favourite, because everything has something I enjoy. But at the time that day it was my favourite.
Yep.
Ephesians 1:1. Let's get out of the Passion Translation because that'll confuse everybody. And we're building into what we're doing today. So all right. So it says, Paul, an apostle of Christ Jesus by the will of God, to the saints who are at Ephesus, who are faithful in Christ Jesus. Sounds very normal.
Yep.
No problems there. If we go into a commentary, let's see if NetNotes has got it. Here we go. New English translation. A free translation of notes on the internet, so that's a lot of great notes in there. If I ever refer to NET notes, New English translation notes, lots of good translation notes. Really, they're very helpful for these sorts of things. It says the earliest and most important manuscripts are in Ephesus. All right, so the very earliest manuscripts they have did not say to the saints who are at Ephesus. They said to the saints who are wherever you are. But it makes little sense without that phrase. To the saints who are faithful, to the saints who are also faithful. So it's like trying to work out what it would actually mean. So what they gather from this is that this is a letter that was open-ended and open to the churches in that region.
Yeah.
So it was just Paul's heart. So if you want to find out what Paul could speak if the church was not doing stupid stuff, this is what he would say. All right. If the church wasn't being an idiot like they were in Corinth and getting themselves all twisted up with their problems, this is his letter. All right, so it's a really interesting letter to read because of it, okay, and that fits with our understanding. So we looked at the book end of Acts, and we had a number of key letters: Ephesians, Colossians, Philippians, Philemon, all written around this time at the end of the book of Acts. All right, and I talked to you last week, and I said,
Ephesians, Colossians, Philippians, Philemon, they're considered the 4 prison.
I don't think they are. I would have said Ephesians. I would have considered a prison letter.
So Google them.
Yeah.
Search for 4
But maybe I'm wrong. I have been known to be. No, actually, I was correct that time. I thought I was wrong, but I was right. Yeah. I used that joke already in the car with Jay. So.
Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon. These letters are grounded together because they are grounded together. These letters are grouped together because they are thought to have been written while Paul was under house arrest in Rome awaiting trial.
Okay, so they're all. So while he was in Rome, these 4 letters get written. Philippians talks about his in prison a lot more.
Yeah.
Philippians is like, I didn't even know whether it was worth. I'm just going to die, just get martyred. But he said, no, I'm going to stay on. Ephesians doesn't have that sense, and I think it's because he was not writing out of that context. He was just writing what he was seeing. All right, and that's why it's probably, to me, it's like I don't feel like it's the prison epistle as such. It's more his statement of what he's looking to. But definitely the Philippian.
Which was the one where he starts writing about it? He's talking about his run his race, or his time is almost up.
Well, that would be 2 Timothy.
2 Timothy.
So now that's when he's gone back to prison a second time.
And that's when he does get martyred.
Stuff is much more serious. But the Philippians
1 has the stuff where it's like, so to me, as is my eager expectation and hope, this is Philippians 1:20, that I will not be at all ashamed, but that with full courage, not now as always, Christ will be honoured in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. If I am to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labour for me, yet which I shall choose, I cannot tell.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. He's the one in prison, awaiting his trial. He's like, well, I choose to live. It's like which one I will choose. I've not yet quite decided whether I'm going to choose to let myself get murdered or not. It's like. It's like,
it really is.
It's quite interesting.
It's like some would say that's not really your decision here, Paul.
Can I just say, we were studying last week, we took time just to do the last couple of chapters in Acts and Luke tells this whole story about them doing through the storm and everything. And my first impression was like, Luke, why? Why give all this detail? You could have summarized it. You give lots of names of all the cities and names of all the places and how the wind was from here and the ship's name and ship's captain, and I was like, okay, I could get it. But as I was studying and reading it, with that heart of like, Lord, why? I began to understand this is something that sort of came through. Luke was saying the gospel couldn't be stopped.
Yeah.
The gospel can't be stopped.
Yeah.
They've put Paul into this containment, and Paul is running the show. Do you know what I mean?
He takes over at some point.
Yeah, it's like there's Roman centurions in charge. There's the ship's captain in charge. They're making dumb decisions, but God's like, I've got to get Paul to Rome. That is actually working through this story.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a little bit of the triumph of Paul and the gospel are triumphing even through all this. It's going forward. It's moving forward. And everyone who's caught up and embraces it moves forward with it. Yeah. And Paul even goes in and he's collecting sticks and he gets bitten by a venomous, and it's like, see, this whole thing's going to stop, and shakes it off and moves forward.
Keeps going.
Just keeps going. And I think that there's that element of, hey church, this is us. Doesn't matter what we're going through. And again, like, it's really tough. I didn't get tickets to the first session of the movie. I'm going to have to wait till...
Yes. There's something will come around and it's like, this is it, this is the thing that kills this, or this is the thing that stops it. It's like, no, we keep going.
We keep going. And when you're under intense pressure and the real battle, these things, sort of rise to the fore, and that's really important. So we have these letters to the Ephesians. So we covered that. But again, we're not teaching to them, we're teaching about the context, so you can go and read them.
Yeah.
And then so we have these other ones, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon. Now, you asked me a number of weeks ago, what is the order of why the New Testament letters are in the particular order they are? You've got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Sort of makes sense, the 4 Gospels there.
Even though I reckon Luke should have been fourth.
But Luke and Acts, a continuation, have John in the middle, so it's like, I agree. But Matthew, Mark, and Luke are similar, so that they're called...
John was doing his own thing.
John was just doing what John does really well, and so that they've sort of... There is a gap between Luke and Acts, even though it's a continuation.
Wouldn't you want to be, I was just reading this story, don't you want to,
continue this.
We read about this in the last chapter.
Well, and then how did they pick up because my logical brain says, I really would have liked to have done it chronologically. Start with the first one that was written. Let's work your way through. Yes, I understand you're going to group some, 1st, 2nd Peter, except 1st and 2nd Peter, group them together, even though a distance. 1st and 2nd Timothy, yes, written at different times. Grouped in 1st and 2nd Corinthians, But can we sort of get a rough? But they're roughly in
length. Yeah.
It's just So Romans is long, Corinthians is long.
Yeah.
Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, that they're sort of getting a little bit shorter as they go.
Shorter.
It's not 100%. Some, whoever put it together didn't get it. They made a few little editorial decisions.
Yeah.
But one of the things they've done there is, where does Philemon fit in? A short little chapter letter.
Yeah.
All Paul's letters are grouped together.
Yeah.
And Hebrews is tagged on because they don't know. Who.
So the writer.
So so it's like we don't know if it is Paul. There's a lot of argument about that. So Hebrews gets on it. So even though it's longer, it's like all the Paul ones are put together, and then Hebrews, and then James, and then Peter, and then John, and then Jude is stuck in there, and then Revelation. And you might have thought that maybe Jude could be moved out and do John's because Revelation is his as well, or even the letter to John, the Gospel of John. And then the letters of John.
Yeah.
So we apologise on behalf of whoever put this together.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It doesn't help. You've got to do your homework. You've got to try and sort them out. And I think one of the ones that is annoying in this is that Philemon is pushed over by itself. So you have Philippians, Colossians, and then you have, I call the T's, you've got 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy. And Titus. And again, Thessalonians, which is one of the earliest letters, just sort of pushed down the back. But the 3 T's, I do the T. When I was, as a teenager, trying to learn the order of the books of the Bible and memorize it, because, if you memorize them, you can find it quicker.
Acts, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Acts,
Romans, 1 and 2, Corinthians,
had a song.
Galatians, Ephesians.
I never learned that song.
1 and 2 Thessalonians.
1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, and Titus. All the T's are put together nicely. All the T's, and they're all in alphabetical order.
I didn't know that until you said it a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, so if I'm looking for one of the T's, I was like, go to the T's.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of them.
And one of them, and then look in alphabetical order. Thessalonians, Timothy, Titus. They're pretty close, but they're all in alphabetical order. And then Philemon. Just snuck in there.
Philemon,
the last of Paul's letters.
1, 2 Peter, 1, 2, 3. So now we've come to the end of
I'm not a real Christian. I never read that.
Revelation. What is it?
Okay, Jay, I have a challenge for you.
Yep.
A serious challenge that you just reminded me with.
Okay.
Today, when I was studying this, or last night when I was studying this, I discovered that in Colossians. So, right. So we're getting the Philemon. Philemon and Colossians were written together. They were 2 letters sent. Philemon was from Colossae. Okay, so they should have been grouped together. They are very much overlapping and working to the same time and situation and circumstances and people.
Yeah.
So you have Colossians, then you have a whole lot of letters, and then it's before Hebrews, after Titus.
Yeah, Philemon.
We have Philemon, all right?
Yes.
Just to
all the
things,
T's in between.
yeah, just to make things more confusing. But you should always read Colossians and Philemon.
Luke and Acts, Colossians, Philemon.
Yeah, they go together. They are handpicked, and we'll work out that why. But when I was looking at Colossians, they say what they think, but can't be 100% certain. But they have a reason. That in Colossians chapter 1 verse 15, which here's one of the problems with if you read your Bible in online only, you lose a lot of formatting because it gets reformatted just to be an online version. You lose paragraphing, you lose how they lay it out, you lose some of those contexts. So if you look at verse 15 and look at the Net Bible notes, it says, this passage has been typeset as poetry. Now, I don't have a hard copy NET Bible.
I have an ESV.
ESV, right? So I'm just always I read the NET just as online.
Yeah.
So it loses the typesetting. So they set it out differently when they were putting it in.
Oh, they set out like a psalm, like in because in my Bible, obviously there's big bulky text there.
Yeah.
That Colossians. If I go back to Psalms, I'm trying to find now.
In the middle of Oxford, right?
Roughly. Yeah, often in Psalms.
Whenever you need to find it.
Yeah, you'll see.
When you
I find a goody.
Yeah, that's exactly that.
Yeah, like these, you can see they're cut up into like verses and lines and choruses and stuff.
Yeah, so much shorter because it's poetry and
which
prose.
I hate when I'm doing the screens, because for the screens I format all the text to like fit any other verse, and then Psalms come up and like 3 words end up on there because all the enters are in the wrong spots and stuff. So that's why Psalms always looks really weird.
David will apologise to you when you get to heaven.
Yeah.
He'll say, I'm really sorry.
Very inconsiderate.
Really sorry that your screens were put out.
He's going to go straight to it.
But were you wondering whether my Bible has it in
poetry form?
Well, it's hard to tell because it's right next to the map.
Well, yeah,
so
and it's also your Bible's the same as mine. Every verse.
Yeah, every verse
starts a new.
Do we have an NET in the?
No, I don't have a physical copy.
We don't have one in the
No.
Dang. If there's anyone who's joining us today who comes to church and you have a physical Bible of the NET, not a study one, because a study one will always separate it by verse, but just an old school NET Bible, can you bring it on Sunday? So we can see what the typeface looks like.
So this is interesting. So again, the way we study, but interesting, they typeset it as poetry.
Okay.
Because many scholars regard this passage as poetic or hymnic. Hymnic, I'm guessing, means hymn. It's a song, it's a hymn. These terms are used broadly to refer to the genre of writing, not to the content. There are two broad criteria for determining if a passage is poetic or hymnic. First, stylistic, a certain rhythmical lilt when the passages are read aloud. We're not going to get that because
we've changed languages, so
we've got
syllables
over.
Yeah.
So we're not getting the Greek bounce and.
Joe's saying that he has an NET.
Okay,
can you bring that on Sunday? Because I'd be interested to see what that's like.
So so it's got an arrangement into couplets. When you hear Psalms, great. The Lord is the Most High. He is above all things. It's like or a reverse one. The wicked can never find their way, but the righteous are always on the good path. But they're couplets. They're sort of joining together. The semblance of some meter, which is that sort of feeling of rhythm and balance. The presence of rhetorical devices such as alliteration, chiasmus, I don't know what that, an antithesis. And B, it's linguistic and unusual vocabulary, particularly the presence of theological terms, which is different from the surrounding context. In other words, it sounds, how when you read, if you listen to a song, it will listen to different to a sermon.
Yeah.
If someone read
cameras.
Wow.
Let me see what's happened there.
How did that happen?
we go.
Good thing you're here. If you were reading out a song of Brian Lake's, it would be different if you were reading out a sermon of Stephen Furtick's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even though we'll talk about theological things, Bible things, it'll be a little bit different. They think from verses 15 through to verse 20, I think it is, it doesn't say. I think it is 15 to 20, doesn't actually say here, which I was a bit annoyed with. They actually didn't say where it finished, but I did some further research. From verses 15 to 20, they think is a song. They think it's a song that they sung in the New Testament churches.
Okay.
And he was quoting that song.
So I know this is a bit different because it's a song, but it's also Bible.
Yeah.
But like in Acts 2, I reckon.
Yeah.
Peter quotes a psalm. A couple of them.
I think he's quoting a poetic. Psalm.
Yeah, he quotes Psalm.
And Joel, which is prophetic.
No, the one where he says, "For my heart is glad." In verse 25, yeah, for David says concerning him, "I saw the Lord always before me, for he's at my right." So that's Psalm. That's a Psalm. So
verses 25 to 28 is a Psalm.
Is a Psalm in there, which he's quoted.
Yeah.
Now that's also Bible, but it's like this probably the similar sort of way is what's happening here.
You also get verses 17 to verse 21 where he's quoting the book of Joel, prophetic, and sometimes prophetic prose is in a poetic sort of format. When they prophesy, they do the same sort of format. So and he's quoting that. So here,
actually, you can see, like even in there in Acts, it's a good example in my Bible.
They change the format.
It changes the format to be like from like big bulky text to line by line in the.
So they do.
Actually, that might have been what stuff up the camera before. So I won't try showing because that might have been what messed up with the lenses.
So it's not reflected in my Bible, but they think it could be. Reason challenge you is don't to a New American, which is going to be a little bit more literal. Find one of the translations that's going to be a bit more poetic.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I would go with the Passion Translation. Maybe
was it Colossians 5? Did you say?
Colossians 1.
Colossians 1.
Verses 15 to 20 is a song that they sang, and there's some nice little balance. Like it's got those little things in it.
Yeah.
You can change the words around a little bit to make it in English, have the same, a bit of rhythm and stuff. For instance, it starts, "He's the image of the invisible God." He's visible of what is invisible.
Yeah.
All right, and verse 16 is visible and invisible. And so it sort of is thrones or dominion. There's a little bit of bounce. So, Jay, my challenge to you is to sing this out.
Yeah.
Josh, you can also do it. I did it this morning.
Yeah.
I just sang it. I sang it as my psalm.
Yeah.
It's not. Brandon Lake is not about to tap me on the shoulder and say, "Can I have the copyright to that?"
It reminds me a little bit in Vibes too. There's a song called what's the name of it? Arrival, I think, by Hillsong Worship, which talks about the and it's one of the most poetic songs. Technically it's a Christmas song they wrote it as, but it's all about talks about the arrival of the infinite infant, and it's like the infinite becoming, it's like royalty robed in the flesh he created, and so like it reminds me of that sort of vibe here, the God of all power, and like.
So my challenge to you, to Jay, and to Josh, sing this.
It.
All right, not now.
Not now.
But to sit down and actually make it a song and imagine them singing it in the first in the New Testament church. Because
that's cool. And 13 and 21, like also that 13, 14, 21, that also flows on. Like you can put those, you could put that together.
Yeah, it's
like
I'm guessing there's a reason why that 15 to 20 had sort of we're reading a song here, but Paul was quoting it in the middle of his theology and his writing to them, and he's using it as it's like if I'm writing to you and then I just go into the words of a familiar song.
Yeah. But it's all in the same context and quotes.
Yeah.
I like
Paul
it.
said, I think I feel a song
Coming
coming
on.
Anyway, so there's a little side thing, but that's a challenge for you to sing verses 15 to 20 and make it a song to the Lord. But also look at the words that they were singing. These were rich, deep words,
absolutely,
and some powerful concepts. They were talking about Jesus being the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. By Him, all things were created, heaven and on earth, visible, invisible, thrones, dominions, rulers, authority. All things have been created by Him. For these are beautiful concepts, and they would have not sang it once. This would have been maybe every time they got together.
Yeah,
they were singing this type of song, and so these are the things that they were singing about Jesus. So Colossians. So I want to now. My purpose. We're going to move forward a little bit faster now to get into this. Colossians and Philemon mesh together. All right. So you're going to look to see why and how I would discover that, because I know I can go to a commentary and I can get them to tell me everything, but you have got enough Bible training and understanding to say, well, how do we do this? We're going to walk through, and then we're going to look at Philemon, and we're going to try and understand as much as we can about Philemon simply by digging out of Philemon. All right, but we're now putting it into context. But this is why the good thing is you're not starting here going, okay, open up to the book of Colossians. Where do I start? It's just like in this huge book. You've got the book of Acts.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
You've got sort of where does everything fit in?
yeah,
And where has he journeyed here? When has he gone to this region? Well, he never actually preached in Colossae. Okay, when reading Philippians, at least we can go and read the story in Acts of him being there with the Philippian jailer and all the rest. Get a bit of context there. Can't do that with Colossae. All right, so it is a little bit like we've got to get some. We've got to get a little bit of help here. All right, and but we can. You've got enough. You're allowed to go a little bit sideways. Get a book of maps. The maps are not in the Bible. You've got to go and get them.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, well, they were Paul
That
didn't,
map is.
Paul didn't show a map because they was familiar with them. They already knew where they were, and Paul, these were familiar places, but they're not familiar to us.
Yeah.
So we need to say, okay, where's he writing this? A little bit, So we go back and we look in the book of Acts and we find our blue pencil. That's our starting point. That's why I got you to do it in your Bible, so you can go there and you can go back at any stage and you can say, all right, I can just look at my margin until I find Colossians. The other one, what you can do is do like I did if I don't have my Bible with me. I use this. I use the ESV maps and timelines. I find that they've done a good job. I'm comfortable with it. And so if you ever do a certain, say, for instance, you just type ESV because the English Standard Version. ESV Bible timeline Paul. ESV New Testament timeline.
Yeah.
ESV Book of Acts timeline. And something like that.
Yeah.
You'll get it, and then it'll give you the dates and times, and you can just look through there. So what's in your margin, you can just get from the ESV anywhere. All right. So if you said, so I want you to you scroll down there and you come to the book Colossians, which is around AD 62.
yeah. I've got them at the back, all the listings, and it's got it with it's one of the prison epistles.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So under house arrest in Rome, Acts 28:30 to 31 writes Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon. All right. So here we are in these times, writing. So we know he's under house arrest.
Yeah.
So we have the context.
That's the context of what's happening.
Where he's happening
he
at the moment. All right. And so we say, okay, when you're looking at a letter, where are you going to find information, the key information? There will be some smattered throughout. The start and where else?
The end.
The end. Start and the end gives you context and helps you sort of position.
Greeting and farewell.
Greetings and farewell.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
So fine.
yeah.
So the first thing you do, say, well, let's go to the greeting. It says, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God, and Timothy, our brother. So Paul and Timothy, he's co-writing that. We know it's Paul.
Yeah. Yes.
To the saints and faithful brethren in Christ at Colossae. What's the next step you do? You get your Bible maps.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? You say,
Yeah.
well, where is Colossae? Okay,
Yeah.
What does that look like?
What's the one? NET Bible maps?
So
iBible maps.
Yeah, we did iBible, is that right? Ship flights, no? iBible.
I think I was confusing the NET timeline,
Timeline and the iBible
and the
maps.
iBible maps
Yeah.
last time.
Yeah,
So
it's,
it's important to distinguish those if you were like me.
Now one of the problem, let's see, map index.
Because it doesn't show I'm going to Colossae. We just need one where it has Colossae on there.
Yeah, so this is his journeys and things like that. Not going to help us here. Boo for the iBible maps.
Doesn't show
So I'm just going to do a search for
Bible map.
Bible map. And what do we want? I'm going to just be very lazy and say Colossae.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
I just googled where is Colossae.
Yeah. There we go. See, when I was a teenager,
Couldn't do
this
that.
took a lot longer.
I had to really want to find it.
Yeah, you guys are it's just a little bit unfair in some sense. You know, that's all right. You know, imagine the scholars years ago, if they wanted to know where is that word in the Bible, they had to remember.
Yeah.
They had to look.
Does it show there what Colossae is?
Yeah, it does, right here.
Oh, it should be highlighted or something.
If you had asked me where is Colossae, like, I don't think I would have even.
Yeah.
I would have been.
Yeah.
Looking anywhere. I literally had no idea.
Yeah. So
Like,
please,
because it's further along, so it's further along the path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we got to do our memory of first
Danish
missionary
Jerusalem.
journey. First missionary journey, Cyprus up here and into the low areas of Galatia, and back, skipping Cyprus, back to Antioch. All right. Remember out of Antioch. So that's
The base of operations.
number one. Dum. Number two, Paul comes back, encourages the churches. He wants to go into Phrygia, Lycia, Mysia, Bithynia. Mentions Bithynia. He wants to go. No. Ends up in Troas. Come over and help us over here in Macedonia. Ends up at Philippi, Thessalonica, Berea, down into Athens, Corinth. Back because he wants to get back. All right.
Yeah.
Third missionary journey. Hits at Ephesus.
Yeah.
Spends time at Ephesus.
Yeah.
I can't do it in my memory these ones. But yeah, back around, minister there. Okay, the key area here: never into Colossae, not into Crete. They Crete later, Colossae never.
So Crete he went to when
That's when the ship.
that was the shipwreck was in
The
Crete.
shipwreck was going up through there,
And
tried
then,
to
they,
get-
and then they got
Fair-
shipwrecked on Crete.
Oh, there, but they didn't do church planning there. He was on a ship. He was a slave.
Yeah.
But then he got to Fair Havens,
Yeah, and then
and he started a revival there.
no,
No, is that in Oh no, that was when they got up to
that was in when he went to
The island.
it's out of this map. Malta.
Malta.
That's-
Ah, right, okay.
that's the
Yeah,
one.
Malta over there, and up to Rome. So Cap doesn't even show on this map.
Yeah.
All right. So, but look at Colossae there. What you do notice, very close.
Ephesus.
It is, yeah.
Ephesus. Let's think of these churches: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, Laodicea. What do you recommend on
the
the
John, the churches of John.
in the
in
book of Revelation?
Revelation.
The
Yeah.
7 churches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But we don't have Paul's letters to them except to Ephesus. But we've got
Paul would have written letters to all those, do you reckon, at some point?
I don't know. Maybe. Or
Do you reckon there are many letters Paul wrote that didn't make it in the Bible?
yeah, I'm guessing. Well, because he told them to get your letter and read it to them, and get their letter and read to you. So there's a little bit of sharing of letters.
1 Corinthians, it talks about in my previous letters, doesn't it?
Letters.
1 Corinthians, it talks about in my previous letters, doesn't it?
Yeah. 1 Corinthians talks about 4 letters, one before and one between.
Mm.
So 1st and 2nd Corinthians are the 2nd and 4th letters.
letters.
There's possibly he wrote to these places. But let's think about in that third missionary journey, we came over and he landed at Ephesus. So we do have that time. And we can come back in our book of Acts. So in the third missionary journey gets underway. Yeah, so Acts chapter 18, verse 23 is he heads off for his
After spending some time that he departed.
passed successfully through Galatian region and Phrygia, strengthening all the disciples. So his third missionary journey, off he goes through the Galatian region. Now we're guessing South Galatia, Phrygia, this region here. So he's heading through there, and then it says, now a certain Jew named Apollos, an Alexandrian by birth. Hey, what's this? So, and we found out that Apollos was a key person in Ephesus, but then also Apollos went over and was part of Corinth. You know? So Paul mentions him in a number of his letters.
Yeah.
So he's talking about him being in Ephesus. Chapter 19, verse 1 of Acts, and it came about that while Apollos was at Corinth, so he's gone over, Paul, having passed through the upper country, came to Ephesus and found some disciples. So we sort of went through that story, the 12, they get filled with the Holy Spirit. Verse 8, and he entered the synagogue, continued speaking out boldly for 3 months, and persuading them about the kingdom of God. So he stops at Ephesus for 3 months, but they were becoming hardened and disobedient, speaking evil away. And so he withdrew and took away the disciples, reasoning daily in the school of Tyrannus, and this took place for 2 years. Now here's the key verse, so Acts 19:10, should maybe go there. So, by you just having to dig around, go back through the book of Acts, find out any connections.
Yeah.
These are sort of the connections you can now make. I remember it was in Ephesus. Ephesus is not Ephesus in the region. Verse 9, verse 10. And this took place for 2 years, so that all who lived in Asia heard the word of the Lord, both Jews and Greeks. Right? So all who heard the word in Asia, because he was there for 2 years, heard the word of the Lord. All right? So his ministry at this stage caused this whole region to get evangelized.
That's good.
And if you have a look at it, like you said, there's 7 churches that by the time John's writing have been established.
Yeah.
You got church at Colossae. You've got another one at Hierapolis. Even though that's not mentioned in Revelation and there's no letter to it, the letter to the Colossians mentions that. All right, so
and there's probably and you said the letter to the Ephesians, correct?
Yeah.
Is the letter where you said that's just Paul's heart to the people. So it's like Ephesians
what he
really,
wanted to
like to anyone, not just a church, but the churches in that area where it wasn't really the letter to the Ephesians, it was the letter
to the Asians.
to the Asia, to the churches of...
And whenever we say Asia, this is a reminder, this is Asia Minor, this is the area that's now Turkey.
Yeah.
Asia, what we could call Asia,
much
is
further
over to the east. This is what this is the people messing with us.
Yeah.
Changing names.
But it basically could have been called the
letter to the Asian churches.
The Asian churches, because it was true. And so the letter of Ephesians probably covers stuff that would have gone or been passed on in some form to Colossae or to the church in Colossians.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So while Paul was there, this whole area is being evangelized. Does he visit all of them individually? Well, probably not. And in his letter to the Colossians, he talks about the fact that some of you don't know me. You know, you don't know what I look like, sort of thing. So
it's sort of interesting. You think about the ground that he has covered in walking and in ship, but then like in this area, he hasn't been here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
well, it's only that far.
You know, it's like it's that far. Oh, compared to Antioch.
And kudos to whoever did this map.
They put
the Ashley D Farmer WordPress.com. So well done. I'm just okay. big scale map at the bottom.
Yeah.
So we can now do a Ephesus to Colossae, and 150 kilometers.
That's
That's
still
not-
long.
Yeah,
a bit more.
Yeah,
A little bit more.
Yeah, so
But not much more.
But it's like you're not just going to do it in a day trip. It's going to take you, 20 kilometers a day. That's a week's walk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's and back.
And back.
So you don't just pop into these places.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, without So even though that's a long. He doesn't get. So he doesn't necessarily go to these places, but through his ministry,
Yeah.
they're opened up.
Yeah.
All right. So some of these people though might have come across to Ephesus and heard his ministry. So he might be familiar with some of them, but not there. So Colossae is there. So this is now he's in prison in Rome, and he's writing down. He writes to the Ephesians, which is sort of like his heart for the whole region church. He reached the Philippian church over here, which is to the people that he had ministered there, and Colossae. And now we know Philemon, not a place, a person. Who was he and what's he doing? All right, so let's go back to
Philemon.
Colossians chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get, so this is what, now you just sort of you read the start, you read the end. To the saints and faithful brethren in Christ who are at Colossae, grace to you and peace from God.
Wait,
our Father.
Mary.
Verse 2.
2.
So it's from Paul and Timothy, and it's to Colossae. So you've got that.
Yeah.
We're really grateful for everything you do. My aim is not to study the book of Colossians, so I'm not going to get drawn into this. He hears about how well they've done since since the day you heard of it, understood the. He knows about how the church got started. He knows about those times.
It says in verse 7.
Yeah.
Just as you learn it from
Epaphras.
Epaphras. Is he mentioned in Acts?
All right. Epaphras, our beloved fellow bondservant, who is a faithful servant of Christ, just as you learned it from Epaphras. Is from that, can you say maybe Epaphras was the one that was sent there, that became the actual one that started the church?
Yeah.
All right. So we can just do a quick search on Epaphras.
You learned the gospel from Epaphras, our dear fellow slave. A faithful minister.
Oh no, never mind. Erastus.
Yep. So
But here we are. Verse 20, Acts 19, verse 26.
You sure?
Unless I misread. Oh no, yeah. Misread it. Misread the name.
All right. That's all right.
I thought it.
Yeah. Close, but no bananas. Yeah, I'm only doing that because it says the Greek word Epaphras only appears in these 4 places. Colossians 1:7, verse 1:7 to 8.
Colossians 4 and Philemon.
And Philemon.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So we don't know much about Epaphras, but we do know that he was responsible for it.
Yes.
And he was a dear friend of Paul's. Do you know what I mean? And just our beloved fellow bonds. So he also informed us of your love in the Spirit. Verse 9. For this reason also, since the day we heard it, we not cease to pray for you. It's amazing. He's been praying for the churches in this place. He prays for Colossae. Never been there.
Never been there. Yeah.
That's because Paul doesn't have enough other places that are on his heart. Doesn't have Corinth and Corinthians going wild. He doesn't have church in Athens. He doesn't have Thessalonians being persecuted.
He's doing this one by spiritual correspondence.
Yeah. All these places, but it's on his heart. He's praying.
Yeah.
Kudos to Paul.
Yeah.
You know, kudos to Paul. Like, I'm just over this. When I went to Ethiopia with Bruce Hills and the World Outreach Ministry many years ago, he was teaching the pastors, the leaders. They weren't doing revival meetings with the churches. They'd bring all the pastors from the outlying areas and bring them to a place, spend a week with them, train them, and then send them back. And that was like that was a way of evangelizing that went way beyond what they could normally do.
Yeah.
Bruce Hills would do training on leadership and things like that. And one of the key things he did, they were teaching them, was not to get above and beyond their responsibilities or their devotions. Or, for instance, some of the pastors would get big and then they'd get other people to do the praying. But they're the pastor, they don't need to pray. You know, you get the people to pray because I'm the pastor. And it was like, no, you need to never grow beyond praying. Because to them it was like a little hierarchical. They got a little bit up, and then they sort of handed off all their daily responsibilities, like praying. You can do my praying for me. So I'm like, that was something I'd never thought of, but it was, and they're all repenting. Yeah, we need to stop doing this. Okay, that's touching a nerve. Paul could have easily just handed off a whole lot of this stuff. He's in prison. He's got his own concerns. Yeah, he's got his own concerns. Is he going to live or die? You know what I mean? The Philippians, but it's like, you know what? I'm praying for you guys. And you're on my heart.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the things you're going through. I'm even going to write you a letter that addresses some of the things you're going through. So he is interwoven with people. Well done, Paul.
Can I just note something here? Pardon me, sorry.
Yeah.
Lost my voice last night at the footy. I just found it really interesting that, you're talking about this is a church that, as far as we're aware, Paul never visited.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a church he knows about, but he has no personal connection to. This isn't Corinthians. He isn't responding here that we know of.
He's not responding to a letter from them.
He'll be responding to what he's heard about. But
he's responding to what they're going through.
But in general, this isn't a, hey, First Thessalonians. Okay, the next book. It talks in the start of First Thessalonians. It's like, I know, he's like, I know you people. I've been there. This is what you've gone through. I'm talking specifically to your situation. First Corinthians, he's writing back to them, answering questions about their situation. Titus, it's writing to Titus about something he knows about. This is not Ephesians in terms of just a general letter to the people.
No. But
it is also, it's a more generalized letter in terms of to this church that I've heard of and I'm praying for you guys.
Yeah.
I just found it interesting. We get a bit of a glimpse into what is it, what Paul prays here, and without reading it, if you were to ask me, Paul says, and so from that day, the day we heard, he is a faithful minister, and he made known to us your love in the Spirit. And so from that day we heard, we have not ceased to pray for you, asking that.
Yeah.
And you would tell me Paul said that. I'm like, what would have I guessed Paul would say? Like, I would have thought he'd say that you would continue, it possibly would have been around grace, and I was trying to think what would I expect Paul to pray. And it says here, it's like, that you, from the day we heard, we have not ceased to pray for you, asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will in all spiritual wisdom and understanding.
Yeah. And
then it says, so as to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, bearing fruit and increasing in the knowledge of God, may you be strengthened.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you were to ask me what he was going to ask about, I would not have guessed it would be spiritual wisdom. Like that I would have thought that would be in there, but it was just an interesting little insight into Paul.
What you're doing here is asking good questions, not just what does it say, but what did I expect it to say?
Yeah.
Because when it's different, that's like.
It's just like, oh.
But why? What caused?
Yeah.
Like I said, why did Luke take so long talking about a sea journey? Made me get the revelation of it's a bigger thing he's sharing. It's not just information. He's sharing. There's a reason. He's showing that how this thing is triumphant.
Yeah.
And you are on the first steps to the big journey of Colossians. We do not have what they were exactly going through.
Yeah.
We only get the snippets of a one-sided letter, conversation, and we're having to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
All right? So you have just started that journey. Why would he say this? As we know, in the past, Paul he's crafty. Crafty is always the wrong word.
Yeah.
Paul is skillful in sharing that which is really helpful.
Yeah.
All right?
Reading through, even just the first chapter here, he's very sincere and he's very thankful.
Yeah.
So you can see the different situation.
Yeah.
There.
So you've got to now dig into that and read and say, what was challenging them that he would be pushing these truths?
Spiritual wisdom and understanding. so as to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing Him, bearing fruit in every
Yeah.
good work, and increasing in the knowledge of God. Again, it's all around knowledge.
So
I was like, it's not what I would have expected. This is an interesting. Okay, Paul's praying to a church. This is why is he praying this? Is it specific to their situation, or is it just say, hey, this is important on Paul's heart, so this is what he goes to, you know?
Yeah. This is a bit different to Ephesians, which is this. So there's stuff that they're going through. He's concerned about.
Yeah.
He's trying to fix and deal with. He's concerned.
Yeah.
So you've got to read now to find out what is he concerned. Where are they going off the rails? What's he trying to pull back?
Yeah.
And why do we get? And trying to be honest, I give a little bit of a clue. Who Jesus is and his purpose and the calling of Jesus and all that is under challenge. So we get a lot of teaching about Jesus.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful to us. A lot of the stuff we know about Jesus and stuff like that comes from Colossians. So well done to that. Not well done to the fact that they were going a bit off the rails, but the fact that because of their challenges, we get a lot of teaching on that.
Yeah.
Just a little one, chapter 2. For I want to know how great a struggle I've had on your behalf and those at Laodicea, and for all those who have not personally seen my face. So remember how these Colossae and Laodicea, right next to it, Laodicea, which was mentioned in the Revelation of the churches, he says he groups them together.
Yeah.
All right. And for all those who have not personally seen my face. That's the clue that tells us, a lot of people haven't actually seen Paul face to face. So he's writing to them in this region.
Yeah.
They've never seen him.
Yeah.
All right. That's so.
But they've been with one of his apostles.
Epaphras.
They've been with Epaphras.
Yeah, Epaphras has.
So they know one of Paul's.
Yeah. So Paul's not. Who's Paul? It's Paul's representatives. It's Paul's teaching. Some of them have probably gone over and have met Paul.
Yeah.
So it's not like who is this guy? Do you know what I mean? But I've never actually
probably referenced a lot through Epaphras.
All right, so let's skip to the end, okay? Because you can get caught up in the teaching if you're not careful. Final greetings. So go verse 7 of chapter 4. So now we're going to get some more clues about a little bit about who he's with, what he's doing. As to all my affairs, Tychicus, our beloved brother and faithful servant and fellow bondservant in the Lord, will bring you information. For I have sent him to you for this very purpose, that you may know about our circumstances, that he may encourage your
where
hearts.
is that, sorry?
7 and 8 of chapter 4. And so, Tychicus, he's obviously carrying the letter.
Yeah.
He's the representative. He's the one coming. And he will fill you in on all the other stuff to go along with the letter. Right? So you can have a quick look for Tychicus. So who is this Tychicus? I just do my way of doing who he is. For easiest way, you can search in the dictionary. You can just do a Google search. I just look to see where he's occurred in the Bible. And look, Acts 20 verse 4. He was accompanied by Sopater of Bereus of Pyrrhus, and by Aristarchus, Secundus of Thessalonians, and Gaius of Libya, and Timothy, and Tychicus and Trophimus of Asia. Wow. In Acts chapter 20, you had a lot of people going with him, and Tychicus was one of them. So Titus didn't get mentioned in the book of Acts, but Tychicus did. And he's reminded him every day since. Acts 20:14, there's another reminder. Who's going, and then Ephesians 6:21. So he gets a little mention in the letter to Ephesians. By that you may know about my circumstances, how I am doing. Tychicus, the beloved brother and faithful minister of the Lord, will make everything known to you. It's interesting. The same one who's bringing the letter to the Colossians is obviously bringing the letter to the Ephesians.
Yeah.
He's the male guy. He's the guy bringing it.
And the same region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So same male run.
Yeah. And because they're both letters when Paul was in Rome. They're both they're both prison epistles. So probably after go to Ephesus, I'll stop by Colossae.
Yeah, he was on a task to do these things. 2 Timothy 4:12.
Probably going to all the churches. Doing a run through all the Asia Minor churches.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, it might be right. He might have had 7 copies of the book letter to the Ephesians, and he's putting the different church names in there.
Yeah,
as he goes to them.
Yeah.
And
then Colossians.
So that's one of the earliest copies they got was one of the ones without the name put in. That's why there's no name in there.
Yeah.
Because it was like, hey, I've written this, then they copy it, and then I'll take it to 10 different churches, and then.
And they said, and to the churches in, and they put a name in there.
Yeah.
But they got one of the blanks.
Could be one. Could just either been the church of the we could have got the one that's to Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yep.
Then why did Colossae get their own letter?
Well, he was addressing
Their issues.
their issues.
Exactly. It's interesting. It's like, why did they not get?
All right. So Tychus turns up in 2 Timothy. I'm not going to go through all the things. He turns up in Titus. So he's one of Paul's bond servants working together.
Trusted.
So and then verse 9. For I sent him that you know what's happening, and with him Onesimus, our faithful and beloved brother, who is one of your number. They will inform you about the whole situation here. Who's Onesimus? Where does he sort of know? And then verse 10, Aristarchus, my fellow prisoner, sends you his greetings, as also Barnabas, cousin Mark, about whom we've received instruction. If he comes to you, welcome him.
Mark that left.
Yeah, so the whole thing.
So they're fine now.
He's sending with recommendations and things like that. Also, Jesus, who is called Justice. These are the only fellow workers for the kingdom that go from the circumcision, and they are all proved to be an encouragement to you. Epaphras, who is one of your number, a bondslave of Jesus Christ, sends you his greetings, always laboring earnestly for you in his prayers.
How do you say minor? When you say that, how do you?
M-I-N-O-R.
M-I-N-O-R.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the.
I'm just putting the notes in where the different people turn up.
So there's a lot of people. This is a very, for a letter to Paul. Actually, it says that Paul often mentions the most names
at the end
to churches he's never been to. Like to church, his letter to the Roman church had a whole lot of names.
Yeah.
No,
before he'd been there. Church of Colossae has a whole lot of names, and he hasn't been there.
Yeah.
So he's connecting and putting names, and this person says this, and Epaphras, da 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 da. Okay, Onesimus, did you see the little thing? Onesimus is there. He's our faithful and beloved brother, who's one of your number, and for the whole situation here. Aristarchus, Epaphras, Luke sends you his greetings. Also Demas. Greet the brethren. Verse 4 to 15. Greet the brethren who are in Laodicea. Also Nympha, and the church is in her house. So okay, and when this letter is read among you, have it also read in the church of the Laodiceans. And you, for your part, read my letters coming from Laodicea. Some people do wonder whether that was a church, the Ephesian letter.
Yeah.
All right, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You might have had a particular one to them as well.
Laodicea, is that one of the 7 churches?
Yes.
Yes, the John.
And say to Archippus, or Archippus, I think it's Archippus, take heed to the ministry which you have received in the Lord, that you may fulfill it. Okay, I am thinking Archippus is the pastor, or the lead elder, the teaching elder of that region.
Yep.
He's been given a special endorsement. Make sure you get your ministry done. Do you know what I mean? I, Paul, write this greeting with my own hand. Remember my imprisonment. Grace be with you. Okay, so that's quite a long, lots of names and things in there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's skip across to Philemon. So now you've got your detective's hat on. You're trying to do this.
Skip the T's.
Why does Philemon in that church get his own little letter?
Philemon or Philemon?
Well, I'm going to call him Philemon.
Philemon,
because that's how his name is pronounced when he talked to me, and he said, "Please tell the guys it's
I
Philemon."
always pronounce it Philemon.
Yeah, he said, "Tell Jay he's wrong."
Yeah.
It's bothering. It always bothers me when you say Philemon because it upsets me. All right. I don't know. I'm guessing. But because I'm running the Bible study, I'll say Philemon. You, when you run your Bible study, you can do however you
Might
want.
depend on the accent.
What's
Paul.
probably because Titus Philemon doesn't work as well in the book. In the song as Titus Philemon.
Yeah, Philemon.
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 All right. Philemon.
There's another book that people always mispronounce. Or
Habakkuk.
Yeah.
Habakkuk.
That might just be accent though, because I hear Americans.
Yeah, I think Americans
Habakkuk.
pronounce it Habakkuk, and this.
I've always said Habakkuk. But I don't
I've
know.
only ever heard Australians call it Habakkuk. To be fair, I haven't heard many people speak from it.
No.
Okay, if I read it out in the Greek using the pronunciation they give today, which doesn't actually reflect the pronunciation 2,000 years ago, because we don't know how they pronounce things. But if you use the standards, Philemon.
Philemon. Like Philemon.
Yeah, the E there is, that is an E.
Mhm.
It's the A sound, not
Like a Philemon girl.
not an E. That's an A.
Philemon.
Yeah, Philemon.
Philemon.
It's actually an E, but with the like fate. F-E-T-E. A sound. Philemon. All right, so
Flamin'.
Philemon.
Flamin' hot.
No, there's an I there.
Yeah.
It's a F-I-L-A-M-O-N. Philemon. Philemon.
Flame on.
Yeah, it's actually
Johnny.
It's actually, that's omega, which is O in the big, omega. So it's the big O. O. There's omicron, which is the short O. O.
Philemon.
So the
Philemon.
O little and the O big.
Yeah.
All right.
Philemon.
Flame on.
Philemon. Philemon. That's that. Philemon.
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 Philemon. This is really not going to help anybody.
That's going to help me.
But anyway, we're all get on the same. Okay, Paul, a prisoner of Christ Jesus, and Timothy, our brother, to Philemon, our beloved brother and fellow worker. Okay, he gets a special letter. We know this is in the Colossian area because to Aphia, our sister, and to Archippus, our fellow soldier. Do you remember Archippus?
Just pastor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only because there's a note in my Bible.
Yeah.
What's he, the pastor?
Well, Colossae, remember we just read and I said, I'm going to take note of him, remember?
To keep doing your...
yeah, and say to Archippus, take heed to the ministry which you have received in the Lord, that you may fulfill it.
Feel it, yeah.
And now here is, and to Archippus, our fellow soldier, to the church in your house. All right, okay, so... And to Aphia, and grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. So it sort of makes sense, he sort of mentions a couple of key people, and Archippus if he's like the key there.
Yeah.
I thank my God, always making mention of you in my prayers. So he's praying for Philemon. That's pretty cool. Imagine Paul praying for you particularly.
Yeah.
A bit like Kenneth Copeland, who's never been here.
Yeah, saying I pray for you.
Because you know his brother, Jerry, was
yeah.
I pray for you, Josh. Because you're not even the pastor. They're like, I pray for you, Josh. Well,
Sweet.
And because I hear of your love and the faith which you have toward the Lord Jesus for all the saints. But actually, we find out there's more than just, it's not just mentioning a person there. There's more to it.
Yeah.
I pray that the fellowship of your faith may become effective through the knowledge of every good thing which is in you and for Christ's sake. He's going good. For I have come to have much joy and comfort in your love, because the hearts of the saints have been refreshed through you, brother. You're a good guy. You're doing good. Sounding good. I'm getting my own letter from Paul. Hey, everybody, can we read this out?
Keep rereading the first part of it.
Oh, this is so good. Look at guys, I got a letter from Paul. I don't know whether you remember. I noted the Apostle Paul. Let me just. Have you heard it? Let me just read it out to you. Therefore, verse 8. Therefore, though I have enough confidence in Christ to order to you to do that which is proper, I could tell you. But I'm not going to. I could tell you.
I could command you.
I could command you.
Mine says accordingly, though I'm bold enough in Christ to command you to do what is required.
Yeah. I could try. And yet, for love's sake, I rather appeal to you, since I am such a person as Paul, the elderly. Now also a prisoner. Did I mention I'm a prisoner? I appeal to you, my child. For my child, I appeal for you, someone I've got this new person born again, and I'm appealing on his behalf, whom I have begotten in my imprisonment, Onesimus. Now remember in Colossians 4 it said, and Onesimus was with him. Tychicus came, and Onesimus.
Yep.
So Onesimus is someone who's been saved by Paul's ministry while he's in the house arrest.
Yeah.
Who formerly was useless to you. Onesimus has got history with Philemon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So okay, this is not just someone randomly that I've.
He's different now.
I've got him saved, but you knew him before you were saved. I've got him saved over here in prison.
Yeah.
But you knew him.
Yeah.
Is yours in brackets? My verse 11 is in brackets. Formerly he was useless to you, but now he's indeed useful to you and to me.
I haven't got net notes. No, there's nothing in that notes to explain why. I think the brackets is stylish, not because of text or translation. It's like, when John would say something, then just remember.
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah, so it's not a. Should I Google it?
Oh no, I just had a quick look in net notes.
Yeah.
There's no mention of a manuscript choice.
Yeah.
This is just a stylist. I think it's a sub-thought. Who formerly was useless to it, now is useful to both you and me. That's a clever little. And I have sent him.
Bit of history.
I have sent him back to you in person. That is sending my very own heart.
Not manuscript based.
Okay, yeah. Whom I wish to keep with me. I wanted to keep him. I wanted him to stay with me, but I needed to send him back. That in your behalf he might minister to me in my imprisonment for the gospel. Did I mention I was in prison? For without your consent, I did not want to do anything, that your goodness should not be as it were by compulsion, but of your own free will. Something's happened here. Onesimus was connected in some way to Philemon, and he's gone.
Yeah.
But he needs to come back. It's not like those just two guys knew each other. Somehow there was a connection, and somehow Onesimus actually is obliged to come back. All right. So the guess is he was his slave. He was a servant in his household, and he did a runner. And he's ended up in Rome, and somehow being connected with Paul. Paul's got him saved. Now he obviously must have known about the gospel because he was in the home of the person that was doing it. But you can be in a home and not. And but Paul's like, oh, man, I really would like you to stay here. You're such a good help, but you're a runaway slave. You really should go back.
Go and
sort
this
out. All right, but how many hints can you have here that he really wants Onesimus to be released back to him?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what to do. And you could be really harsh. You could be really. You could, you could bring the law down on his head. But he's like, you know how much I love him and I love you, and first 7 verses. What a good guy you are. You're a really strong Christian. You're really
you would never do any of these
things. Just imagine if this is the reason he was part of you for a while, that you should have him back forever. Hey, no longer as a slave. Okay, there's the clue. But more than a slave, a beloved brother.
Yeah.
Especially to me. But how much more to you? Both in the flesh. He's our brother now.
Yeah.
Hey, wouldn't that be funny? The slave that ran away. If there was a reason for it. And he's back, not just as a slave but as a brother.
Yeah.
Our brother.
So it's better now.
Yeah.
So I was going to go Colossians 3:23. Sorry.
What are you looking for?
Where does it say that? Both in the flesh and in the Lord. Both in the flesh and in the Lord.
Yeah.
It ties it into, I'm not sure why, in my Bible it connects it to Colossians 3:22 and 23, where it says, Bondservants, obey in everything those who are your earthly masters, not by way of eye service as people pleasers, but with sincerity of heart, fearing the Lord. For whatever you do, work heartily unto the Lord and not for men. So I was just interested why it ties, and it ties it in with the, in here, especially me, but how much more to you, both in the flesh and in the Lord. I was interested in what the connection was there. That he was
obviously, it was giving instruction to the Colossian church about how slaves should
be handled.
Imagine, wow, that takes a whole new meaning when you've got a runaway slave who's come back.
Yeah.
with Tychius.
Yes.
Everyone knows who he is.
Yeah. Yeah. He must be like, short keys back.
I'm back.
Yes.
Did he announce himself?
Yeah. I often wonder if he wasn't, Philemon's reading this, with Onesimus hasn't shown himself.
Yeah. Yeah, he's here. Why is he?
Looks up.
Hi.
What? Read the first 7 verses again. Read the first 7 verses again.
Wait until he finishes the letter.
Read the letter. If then you regard me as a partner, accept him as you would me. But if he has wronged you in any way,
I like what he does here.
or owes you anything, charge that to my account. Because I, Paul, am writing this with my own hand. I will repay it. Lest I should mention to you that you owe to me even your own self as well.
It was being a bit crafty there. He took it on, then mentions his. Oh, they cancel each other out.
Here I am.
Now there's no issues.
I'm an elderly man in prison, and you owe me your own life, by the way. So there's a guessing that you got saved and raised up in my ministry. But don't think about that. Just charge it to me. The one in prison.
Yeah.
Put it on my account. Everything he stole as he left. Charge me to it. Charge it to me. Charge me to it. Charge it to me. Yes, brother, let me benefit from you in the Lord. Refresh my heart in Christ. Having confidence in your obedience, I write to you, since I know that you will do even more than what I say. And at the same time, also prepare me a lodging, for I hope that through your prayers I shall be given you. I'm hoping to come back. So now, remember, Paul wanted to go from Rome to Spain.
Yeah. This
This gives us the indication maybe he came back here first, and he went over to Colossae. He wanted to go and visit them at Colossae. And stayed with Philemon and visited there. That would have been possibly how the visit to Crete was worked in and things like that. All right? Epaphras, my fellow prisoner in Christ Jesus, greets you. Mark, Aristarchus, Demas, Luke, my fellow workers. Can you see all the same
Yeah.
group?
There's a collaboration.
I'm going to guess, would have those been the people that were on the boat with him? Well, because we know Luke was on the ship.
These ones,
they've been shipped over to Rome, so these are the ones that would have been on the ship.
Well, they've either joined him in Rome or Luke went with him, and the others possibly, because it does talk about those who went in the boat with him.
Yeah.
You can go look that up later. But in Colossae, and here's the overlap. This tells us. So it's not right that Philemon or Philemon, the letter, should be sitting after Titus in our Bible. Put it straight after Colossians. It's came at the same time. It's all, there's so much overlap here.
And Philippians probably shouldn't be between. I feel like Ephesians. It should go Ephesians, Colossians, Philemon, because it's like Ephesians was to the general area. Colossians was to one of the churches in the area. And then Philemon was to one of the people in the church in the area. Like it just got more and more specific,
And Philippians was just its own separate letter.
Just put it. Excellent.
And but it gives you a sense of this is very personal. And some people are like, well, why isn't it even in the Bible? Because it's just really a personal issue. But thank God that we have really personal things included. This is the exact opposite of Ephesians, which is the big picture to the church. This is a very
specific thing.
This is and you
welcome back, forgive.
Welcome back, forgive, release. How do we treat this? So you can get so much out of this just by using Acts, and then the connections and the maps, and then joining together.
And it's almost like something like this. Like so, Philemon. I'll just say Philemon. If he does this, it's like it's showing like a character, like not the bigger picture, but like the micro is like the character of someone who is a Christian. This is
what they do. This is the outworking of grace in someone's heart. This is what it looks like to live with grace and live as live in the spirit. Act like this.
If you look at that and think, oh, I don't know if I could do that, or it's like, well, we've got some growing to do. We've got some. I'm going to get more of Jesus in my life, where His character is flowing out of me.
Exactly. So this is the rubber hits the road. This is I've got to really deal with this. The Onesimus. The word. Remember we said. Where's the first time that he says Onesimus? verse 10. Onesimus. 10 verses in. Just happened to mention it's all about Onesimus. If we just look at the word for Onesimus, because we lose this in our. Okay, putting on our our Bible study hats, remember, we've got gaps. Okay, we've tried to close the gap on geography. We've tried to close the gap on history, connections, putting relationships, names. We hear so many names like, okay, you know, Tychius, you probably Epaphras. These are names because they're not Paul and Silas and Luke. Sometimes they just get blended into Bible names.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But they were real people, and they had, you know,
real stories,
real
and
stuff like that. So some of the distances we have now in language, Onesimus. I mean, Onesimus is a word that means useful. All right, so his name meant useful. Useful, useless, useful.
Yeah.
Useless, useful.
Yeah. Yeah, the one, every time we said, where's Onesimus? Mr. Useful is useless to me because he's
like
gone and stolen.
It's ironic.
Something
It's like
along the way.
it's like we got a big dresser long cupboard for to put in our hallway when we moved into our current house. It's a big long feature piece of our hallway, and Dad called it sacrosanct. He's like, nothing can go on this. It's like this table is sacrosanct. Like nothing will be dropped on it. It is sacrosanct. And then me and my sisters, we didn't know what the word meant, so we just thought that was like the name of the sort of table. So we started putting things on the sacrosanct cupboard because we just. And then everyone was like, oh, where's the keys? Oh, the keys are on the sacrosanct. It's like, it was called the sacrosanct because nothing was supposed to be put on there. And like, oh yeah, the keys have been left on the sacrosanct and everything was left on the sacrosanct. And it wasn't until we were older we realized, oh, but that's probably how we felt talking about useful.
Yeah. It was like,
Oh yeah, the key. Yeah, where do you find, where was useful? I don't know.
useless.
How was it useful? Useless. Where are the keys? On the sacrosanct table.
Yeah. So you look at verse 11, who formerly was useless to you, but now is useful.
Yeah.
Both to you and to me. So there's a play on words with his name.
Yeah.
All right. So Paul's being a little bit cleverer.
Yeah.
And I've sent him back to you in person. Okay. One last big thing which would possibly make it really hard to understand is, you know, we've got to get in our heads here. We're going to try and imagine is the concept of slavery, because we just don't have that in our day-to-day life here. And anytime slavery is mentioned, it's like free the slaves. Anytime we read about slavery, it's about an embarrassing time in our history that we you know, say, oh, it's really bad that we had that. And we, you know, we owned people and treated them, you know, and you had stories of, you know, horrific stories of people that were captured in Africa. You know, the story Roots, the book Roots, which was made into a mini TV series, which became like it talked about the life of an African boy that was, as a teenager, I think, captured, sent in a slave ship, and then his life, and then his descendants. So it just followed his history, and it was horrific, and it showed the you know how terrible it is to be put in a slave ship, and then they have things like if they ran away, they would chop off the first half of your foot, so you couldn't run away again. They make you unable to sort of run, you know, and you know things like, oh, you know. So we sort of have, when we hear slavery, these are the images that come to us: chains, harshness, whips, beatings, people called, you know, derogatory terms, and slavery connected with a race, connected with the colour of your skin, you know, slavery, you know what I mean? It's locked in, and so we have and then we have an account here of a slave, and it's difficult not to take our concept and understanding of slavery and just read it back into here. So this is actually one of the difficulties you've got to try and step over, is try and see culturally what did this term mean, culturally what is Onesimus facing. Obviously there was a responsibility. Paul didn't write to him and sort of say, hey, you know, you shouldn't have slaves.
No.
He's actually, Paul's saying, I should send him back. I can't morally and legally probably keep him here.
Yeah.
All right. So it was like, wow. So if Paul got a man that had freed himself from slavery, would Paul take him back?
It's like back into slavery. It sounds odd to say that.
Yeah. So we have to try and, how does this all work? So So if you look, there's a word here.
Bondservant.
Slave.
Whenever they're saying like a slave to sin or like a slave in this case, is that always the exact same like word or meaning?
I'm guessing it is. I don't know. I can't answer that, but I'm guessing it would be.
Verse 16.
Verse 16.
Because
no longer as a slave. So the word there for slave.
I've got bondservant in my Bible.
Yeah. Okay. So and.
Because then it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be used in a bad
The
context.
King James just uses the word as a servant. Okay, New American is slave. So first of all, we'll just have a quick look. The Greek word is doulos. A slave, one who is in a permanent relationship of servitude to another, his will being altogether consumed in the will of the other. Generally one serving, bound to serve, in bondage. A slave, a servant, spoken of involuntary service. A slave as opposed to a free man. You know, so there's those sort of. But it's also a voluntary service, obedience, devotion. You know, Paul said, I'm a slave to Christ.
Yeah, in Romans 6, is it? Yeah.
So it can sort of use in terms of modesty. So it's not always as harsh as what we make it. You know, Paul says, I am a slave. So is that like saying that Jesus is like slave master?
No, we're blood bought.
Yeah. I think
we're not our own.
And I'm correct in saying that, like in old school, like in Bible times,
there
were people like some people would choose to go into slavery because it was like you would instead of having to fend for yourself and trying to live off your own hand.
People
it's like,
would sell themselves into slavery.
It's like because hey, I'll work for you, but if you go to a good owner or go to a good, house, you'll probably live in good conditions. They'd probably treat you fair. Like they wouldn't always be treating them unfairly, or it would just be like, hey, you now work for me, but I'll treat you well if you do the right thing. So like a lot of the some of the time back then it wouldn't have been with the same,
No, so I got a responsibility for you. You're a part of my household, but it wasn't always permanent. Sometimes it was a certain number of years. Sometimes you could pay yourself out, and you could work to a point where you get free. There was some of them you were given a choice whether you at that point you wanted to go at sometimes, and they would
sometimes they would stay.
Yeah, sometimes I would stay. There's scriptures in the Old Testament, I should have tried to find them, where you would go to a doorpost and they would put a hole through your ear, and it would connect you. You'd say, I'm permanently wanting to be part, and they basically pierced their ear, which was a sign of belonging now. But that was a choice. Like I actually don't want to leave. It's really good here. My wife and kids are pretty happy here. We get fed. You're a really nice master. I'd like to stay. All right, so I'll keep you on as a full-time servant forever. But now you belong to me. But they didn't say, oh no, I'm oppressed by that. They were secure by that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it didn't have the same, but it's not a servant. Like a servant is just someone who comes to your house, works for you. Even if they sleep in their servants' quarters, they're still an employee in employment. So it's higher than that, but it's not the whip and the chain and cut your
It's
foot
probably
off.
almost the closest I can think was like in like a royal household when someone like they work for the royal, and like it would become your whole life is working for that family, and but like you're doing it almost out of choice sort of thing, because you're doing it because you've embraced the idea of it and you like it, but like you're not in any way at your own will what you're doing. Now they're at their will to be there, but once they choose to be there, it would be you're completely ordered around, but it's in a fair way sort of thing. So
it's sort of in between things that we know, and there are times when that they would capture a city and they would take people into slavery, and that's probably,
that would have been bondage. That would have been.
But sometimes the person they went into slavery to, they were looked after and taken care of. So it was like I remember in the story of the guy who came to Elisha, Naaman, the leper. And he was a leper, and he was he was a leader in the army of one of the.
Was it Syrian? Or?
Yeah, he was not an Israelite. He's not a Jew.
No.
And it's like he had a girl that was like in their service who had been captured out of one of the raids he had in Jerusalem, and she'd become his servant girl in his household. She said, "Oh, my master should go and do this." She was not oppressed, even though it was terrible how she got there. There was a sense where he was looking after her and she was cared, and she wasn't acting as if, "I hope you die."
Yeah, she wouldn't have said that if she wanted, that.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, I want my master to live. He's a good guy. I want
cure his leprosy."
Yeah, so this is one of the places where we don't have a modern equivalent. And you've got to
we have multiple half equivalents.
And to get into this is not always so easy. But one of the things that is different is Paul saying we treat each other like brothers. We actually, I think, let me just see if I can find it quickly. In 2 Corinthians, sort of when Paul looks at servanthood. You can find where Paul talks about what should you do as a slave. If you've been born again, should you stay in, yes. And he said, yeah, if you're a slave, stay a slave. I was like, what? But if you're able to get free, be free.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same, like, get out of it at all costs.
Yeah.
It was, it's not so bad. And he said, treat your masters well, serve them as if you're serving Jesus.
Yeah.
So it gives us a picture that it's not like what we're talking about in slavery. So when people say to you, the Bible supports slavery.
No.
Yes and no. You know what I mean?
Not the same.
Same word, not different concept.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes they translate it as servant. Sometimes they translate it as bond servant.
Bond servant, because that almost gives the two aspects. Same way that there's the word, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, chesed.
Yeah, chesed. That's pretty good.
Chesed. It's a Hebrew.
Yeah, Hebrew word.
Hebrew word, but it's like there's no English equivalent. The best they've come up with, which is what a lot of Bibles do, is the word loyal love, because it talks about the loyalty and the steadfastness and the relentlessness of God, but then also talks about the mercy and the love and the kindness. But it's one word, but we really need to put two words together in order to get, because if we just said God's love, we're not including the loyalty and the consistency of it. If we say God's faithfulness, you're not talking about the mercy and the love and the grace. So it's like, most Bibles translate it as loyal love because it's two
sometimes using loving kindness, which loses the loyalty.
Loyalty, because it's like there's 2 or 3 English concepts in that one word. Same with their word slave. You bond servant because you need the bond of there's a legal and there's a legal requirement and you don't have the free. It's lost the freedom, but servant because it doesn't have the pain and the other elements that are consistent now. So often you'll need 2 or 3 English words to translate it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why bond servant pops up every now and again.
I think a lot in the ESV. You get a bond servant a lot.
Actually, the reason I couldn't find it in 2 Corinthians...
It's in 1 Corinthians?
Yeah, I just found it in 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 7. I looked in 2 Corinthians 7. It didn't make any sense at all. Were you called while a slave? Do not worry about it. But if you are able to also become free, rather to do that. But he who was called in the Lord while he's a slave is the Lord's free man. In other words, you can be a slave, but you're actually free on the inside.
Yeah.
Likewise, he who's called free, well, you've actually got to act like a slave.
To Christ.
To Christ. You were bought with a price, do not become slaves of men. But so it says that if while you were you called whilst a slave? Well, do not worry about it. We'll just make. You can still be a servant of Jesus even whilst a slave. You can still be free even though you're working. So Paul wasn't like, let's get you out no matter what.
Yeah.
It was that's why people will now put the Martin Luther, I see a day when there's no man and slave. Yeah. Look at the Bible and go, see, the Bible's archaic. The Bible doesn't speak to us.
It's a different concept.
Different concept, and you've got to work hard to
when
get to that.
In 1 Corinthians 7, where he's saying that about if you can be a free man, I'm going to guess, this is purely speculation, that he's not talking about like if you are able to free yourself from your master's control, do that. I'm gonna guess it's almost just as much talking about if you are able to live a life where you can, they'd be talking about getting free, but like the same way you said, some people would be offered freedom and they're like, no, I'd rather stay back, not because they can't get free, but because they're like, I want to have the ability to fend for myself. You might even be saying like, if you can fend for yourself and be free, do that, but don't free yourself if you're gonna cause yourself pain. Stay in a situation.
Don't feel as if I can't be a Christian if I'm a slave. No, you can be a free person on the inside and just serve and honour the Lord through your servanthood there. But having said that, if you get the opportunity to be free, well, go for it.
That's good. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not. So Paul's like, Paul was doing what sometimes I do when I'm preaching. If I say something, I realise, someone will take that the wrong way. So I've got to correct that too. But I'm not saying you have to do that, So that's how it works. So there's a few things like that you've had to sort of step into this and you've had to sort of immerse. So your challenge is to read through this, get into the mind of Philemon
hot Cheetos.
Philemon. Get in the mind of Philemon and say, how would you respond in this situation?
Yeah.
What would you? What would you do? It's like there's a part where you sort of say, he wasn't left much choice. He was given all the choices in the world. But
I've put your debt against. I've taken the debt and I've put it against my debt that you have with me now.
Let me just take it. Sometimes, if I feel coerced into something, I feel cheated.
Yeah.
I feel cheesed off.
He's saying these things, but he wants it. He wants it to be from his heart.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll be asked to do something in the church, or God will require me to do something, and I feel as if I'm not really giving a choice. I'm just having to do it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah, that's good.
Doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because I feel a little bit like, I'm being squeezed here. Sometimes the squeezing is actually me having to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And a bit of flesh will be chafing at us. I really wanted to tell this guy off. Or do I really want to do this? But sometimes people got in this mind, in our life today, we are so free that no man's going to tell me what to do. And if you sort of say, can you go and serve here, or can you, you really ought to, now that you've done this, you really ought to do this. I wasn't planning to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. You can do it cheesed off and upset and angry and miss the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? You can. There's a point where, you know what, Philemon might have had to, wonderful. No, and you're forgiven. That was 2 grains, 2 sacks a week and a good horse.
Yeah.
You took with you? Anyway, or he could, God actually just let it all out and embrace the moment and say, of course you're forgiven and no need. Just imagine all the different options he had. Which one did he choose?
Yeah.
Which one would you choose?
Yeah.
How would you choose in this?
Yeah.
Do you say do you let everybody know that he's back, but and how good you are, and what you've done to release him? I could have torn strips of him, but I was really kind. Or do you just sort of, hey, let's all celebrate that he's come back as a believer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's rejoice in that.
That's good.
What's how do you frame it? And so you get in the heart of Philemon, Onesimus. Paul said you need to go back. You need to do the right thing.
Prodigal son.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, sometimes I've known this sort of situation where people who have committed crimes and then they got saved, and they come and they say, what? By the way, I've actually done this crime. What do I do? And it's like, well, you're born again. Jesus has forgiven you, but you need to go and sort this out.
Yeah.
You need
own up to it.
Yeah, we need to. You need, because that's you've broken the law of the land. Jesus has forgiven you for your sin, but the law of the land is still
to do the right thing.
And sometimes those people go and then they actually end up in prison. They have to do a stint in prison, and God is gracious and gets them out early or whatever, But sometimes we need to still do the right thing. Yeah. And Onesimus could have no, I'm a Christian, but I'm not going back.
Yeah.
What has he risked by trusting Paul?
Yeah.
Going back. And,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, there's a few things that we can look at there. So anyway, so Colossians and Philemon. Even though we haven't addressed the actual message of Colossians, that's now your job to go and read and say what is Paul? Why is Paul writing to them, and what is he really concerned about? And then at the same time he's writing to Philemon, I get a little sort of side story there. And then and Paul's not really just writing to Colossae, Hierapolis, and I think Thyatira. They're little sister cities.
Yeah.
Laodicea maybe Laodicea, Hierapolis, and they're all very close, and they're obviously going through very similar sort of problems.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. That's been so fun, so good.
This has been great.
So good, and like getting that context and like putting Philemon, and Colossians and all those books into perspective. It's been so handy. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have today.
Yeah.
Don't forget, this Sunday we have the Let's Get Real panel Q&A. If you have questions, go to the website or go to the email, the weekly email, and you can submit questions for this week's panel. We've got Pastor Peter, you're going to be on the panel.
Yes.
We've got Pastor Christine's on the panel. We've got Pastor Caitlin's on the panel, and we've got Mark is on the panel.
And Kirsty.
Mark and Kirsty are on the panel. So we've got 5 people on the panel this Sunday. It's going to be awesome. So submit questions. If you have any questions based on our Let's Get Real series, anything that you're like, hey, this is a real issue I face, this is a real issue I know my friends face, this is a real issue I know my family face. Submit the questions. I believe they're submitted anonymously.
Yep, you can just go online.
It was all submitted anonymously. You don't have to put your name in. If you're facing something,
for you.
thank you. If you're facing something, you're challenging to something, let us know. And then afterwards, we're following it up with the family picnic, depending on whether it's either going to be here or down at the Bayswater Train Park. But if you come to church in the morning, we'll let you know where that one's happening. We look forward to seeing you there. Wednesday night, we've got Grow Teens, and next Friday, we're going to be back here for, who knows, are we continuing Acts, or we might be...
We're getting right to the end, aren't we?
It's turned into more of a New Testament study, more of a Paul study, really.
And I was always happy for that.
It's a Paul study, not an Acts study, and I think that's good. Well, thank you, family, for joining us. Have a good week. We'll see you next one. Bye for now.